mechanism win was just so
The August 22nd, 2022 regular Wasilla City Council meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, council, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business to attend to during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to all attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And before I take the roll, if I could just announce, we did have, as many of you know, some issues with our AV output at our last council meeting. So those have, we hope, have all been resolved. But tonight, if I could just remind everybody to please shut your mic off when you're not speaking and then turn it back on. That was something that X asked me to convey. So thank you very much. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Here.
Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
here.
Councilmember Velak.
Here.
Councilmember Rubio is absent and excused unless there's objection from the body. You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Brown, and Velak are with us in person. Councilmember Johnson is participating telephonically.
Thank you, ma'am. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Graham?
I had asked our Public Works Director to kind of fill me in a little bit on what projects are remaining between now and the impending end of the summertime, and he said he might have a brief report. Could we put that on the agenda someplace before we get to comments, or perhaps under commission and agency reports?
Yes,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
we will.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
was that on the agenda initially and given out to the public for their review prior to this evening?
No, it was not.
So can we add something like that to the agenda if it hasn't been publicly noticed?
Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Through the chair to the council, you know, our code doesn't, so as a rule, if it's an action item and even if it's a major discussion item, I don't recommend adding it. It is a report from staff. I think it's.
Staff doesn't have a problem then
the
with that?
body. Madam Attorney, do you have anything to add? I think it's a bad habit to get into. I will say that. That's my personal opinion.
Sorry. Yeah, ideally, I think you want to maintain the integrity of the agenda. If you have a major item like a report on all of the projects outstanding or something, that might be something to put on the future agenda so people can hear the report. But at the same time, I do know you also engage with, the staff will provide updates or engage during the comment period. So I'm just trying to, I'm looking at your agenda and I'm trying to determine when that discussion usually happens. And I think that's usually just in response to comments from council. So it wouldn't warrant a separate agenda item, but I think that that practice is fairly standard for council. So if Councilmember Graham wants to inquire during comments, but Amy, is that consistent with what you guys have done? I mean, I see that back and forth on comments, but it's not, it's not specifically identified on the agenda.
Through the chair to the council, I think if there's, we try during comments not to get too deep into discussion. But yeah, definitely, if there's a question, it's not inappropriate or unlike staff, unusual for staff to answer that question during comments.
Okay, so I would recommend that approach just to be consistent. And then, in addition, if it's not as robust as you're hoping for, then that would be a good agenda item for the next meeting.
Okay. So during council comments, you can ask Bob for that report. Okay?
As you wish, thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there other changes to the agenda?
I move, Councilman Brown, I move to accept the agenda as printed.
I'll second that.
Is there objection? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Special orders of the day. There's one proclamation that I will read. City of Wasilla proclamation recognizing September 11th as Patriot Day and a National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas on April 11th, 2021, over 3,000 people died in the New York City, rural Southwest Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. in the worst terrorist attack on America in our nation's history. And whereas the countless numbers of volunteers from around the United States came together to help in response, mitigation, healing, and rebuilding in the wake of that tragic day. And whereas by a joint resolution approved December 18th, 2021, the United States Congress designated September 11th of each year as Patriot Day, and by Public Law 11-13 approved on April 21st, 2009, designated the observation of September 11th as an annual recognized National Day of Service and Remembrance. And whereas the National Day of Service and Remembrance is an opportunity to salute the heroes of 9/11, recapture the spirit of unity and compassion that inspired our nation following the attacks, and rededicated ourselves to sustain service to our communities. And whereas the City of Wasilla reflects the values and traditions of a nation built to endure through its vital connections between citizens, government, and our environment. And whereas the City of Wasilla continues to remember the sacrifices of all those lost on September 11th, 2001, and the enduring sacrifices for families, friends, and comrades lost that day, and holds with honor their memories in our hearts and prayers. And whereas the City of Wasilla continues to honor the memories of those lost and recognize their services of all the men and women whose mission it is to protect us. Now therefore I, Glenda D. Ledford, Mayor of the City of Wasilla, hereby proclaim September 11th, 2022 as Patriot Day, as a National Day of Service and Remembrance in Wasilla, dated this 22nd day of August, 2022. We are on to Commission and Agencies report. Deputy Administrator Nygaard, do you have a report on the Wasilla Landscape Standards review?
I do not. They met the second Monday of the month, which was the last council meeting, and we have not received those minutes. They will be in the September 1st, September 12th. September 12th.
Okay. We're now at public participation. There are no public hearings this evening, so we'll move directly to persons to be heard. As a reminder, this is a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. Out of fairness to those here to speak tonight, I want to remind everyone that this is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Substantive questions will not be entertained during persons to be heard. So tonight, Mr. Stearns, please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Stearns. I'm the Senior Ambassador for the Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated. Well, the biggest news of the day is what I told you a month ago. A month ago, we had our board meeting, and I told you that our director, our CEO, had resigned. Well, we had another board meeting, and we had the opposite effect. The opposite effect was that we hired a new guy, actually a new young lady. And Marlene Munsell has taken over to be the CEO for the Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated. So she will just be stepping into a new office, but doing basically the same things that she's been doing, only at a higher level. So that's the big news. We'd invite you all to come to lunch and see what's going on at Wasilla, because things are moving, and they're moving fast. We're growing. You wouldn't believe how many people are at the at lunch now. If you were here before the pandemic, count what you saw there and give it about 50% more. We've got lots of people coming. We've got new activities coming. We have an art therapy class, and line dancing is coming soon. So if you're into line dancing, that's something. As I said, our dining room is full. The kitchen staff are putting out about 500 meals a day, which is about 2,500 a week. That's the people that are, of course, in residence there, and then all our Meals on Wheels. But 500 meals a day, that's a lot. And we're understaffed. And so what's happening is our seniors have said, I'll step up, I'll go into the kitchen and work for you. And so that's been what's been happening. We're filling out our paperwork for Willow House 2, and we expect to submit that, I don't know, next month, this month, and we expect to hear back sometime the end of the year whether we get that funding. And if we get the funding, we start another project, and that will be Willow House 2. Gardening is just about over for the year, but it was a great year. Willow House 1 got landscaped, and they got their gardens and everything, doing a great job. Our new management team members that I told you about last time, doing a great job. And our Mid-Valley is up and running again, and they are very excited about that. Any questions?
Mr. Stern, Brown.
Just in accordance with your proclamation read earlier, I'd like everybody to recognize Mr. Stearns as a person who was standing by my side on September 11th, 2001. And thank you for that service and the service that you're still doing to the Wasilla community.
Thank you.
Mr. Stearns, please give Ms. Munsell our congratulations. And any way we can help her, please let us know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to address the council?
I see the planning commission is here.
I see that. And seeing no one, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I'll read items for approval, Madam Mayor. Under the consent agenda, we have the regular meeting minutes of August 8th, 2022. We have no introductions and no resolutions. 2 action memorandums recommended for approval. The first is AM number 2227, contract award to Big Dipper Construction for Hurley Circle Water Sewer Extension in the amount of $345,000. And second, AM number 2228, contract award to Big Dipper Construction in the amount of $1,102,867 for the Richmond Hills Booster Station project.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move we move.
Madam Mayor.
consent agenda.
Councilman Johnson approved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Velock and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is moved. There's no unfinished business or no new business, so we move directly to communications. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the items under communications.
Thank you. We have IM number 2210, monthly financial reports for the period ending July 31st, 2022, to include the month-to-date expenditure report and disbursements greater than 10,000. And while we have the landscape committee meeting minutes on the agenda, you'll see the note to file there that when the packet deadline approached, those minutes weren't ready for publication. So we'll see those on our next meeting packet. Thank you.
We are now at audience comments, a time.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could I ask a few comments on the monthly financial reports?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Reading through these, I see that, 8% of the year's lapsed, basically a month is gone. But some of the budget percentages remaining are awfully small. I certainly understand Public Works is spending a ton of money this time of year, because that's the only time they can do it, get things done. But the one that really concerned me the most was Public Safety Administration, with less than 20% of their budget remaining. Could either you or the chief comment on that, Ms. Miller? It just shows a lot of encumbrance there, but I'm not sure what that encumbrance is.
Yeah, so to Councilmember Graham through the mayor. So I'm looking at Public Safety Administration, and I'm seeing an 89% budget remaining.
Wrong line.
But the reason for the fact, when you see those percent budget remaining, and it's a large percent consumed, it is, if you look in the current encumbrance column, so
Right.
it's likely that there are services or goods for which have been procured or encumbered from purchase orders. So for
Annual contracts and such?
yeah, so like if you see
Agreement.
council is at 44%, that's because a large portion of your budget is legal, which is encumbered for Burt Horton, and for accounting and auditing, which is encumbered for our contract with BDO. And so it's not a true residual, but it does encumber those funds so that they aren't spent further.
Right, yeah, so on my paper copy, it shows 18. I think
Oh,
the
I'm looking.
electronic copy shows something different, or perhaps you're looking at a different
Yeah.
line.
I think we're on different lines.
All right, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, is there any further questions on the financial report? Hearing none, we're now at audience comments. Time for members of the public to share their views with the council. Out of fairness to those here to speak tonight, I want to remind everyone that this is not a question and answer period or time for dialogue. Substantive questions will not be entertained during audience comments. Is there anyone present who would like to address the city council at this time? Seeing no one, we will close audience comments, and we are now to mayor, clerk, attorney, and council comments. And please keep your closing remarks limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, council members. With your clerk's report, we have the sample ballot attached for our October 4th, 2022 regular city election. Again, we have 2 new precinct numbers and locations. So for our city voters, either contact my office or the State Division of Elections to see where you'll actually be voting in our upcoming city election. We have precinct number 27420, Wasilla number 1. That location is here at City Hall Council Chambers. And then if you're registered to vote in 27425, we call that Wasilla number 2, and that voting location is at the Menard Center. Again, if you're going to be at the Alaska State Fair this year, stop by if you haven't done so, the Purple Trail, to visit with MATCOM Dispatch and the Police Department. I was able to forward the council some really nice photos of their tent, their display at the booth. I thought that looked really professional, and so congratulations, Public Safety. And then we've done Save the Date for the Alaska Municipal League Local Government Conference in December. We've saved the date for December 7th and 9th. That'll be at the Denina Center in Anchorage, which is a new location, and then the host hotel is the Marriott. And so information will be coming to council in the coming months, and we will see you all at our next regular meeting, September 12th.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Clerk. A quick question for you. Early in-person voting, September 19th is when that starts, and that will allow people to vote both the federal, state, and local ballot, is that correct?
Through the chair to Councilmember Graham, right now the only early in-person voting I'm aware of here at City Hall is for our regular city election, September 19th through October 3rd. Off the top of my head, I want to say borough and state election, early voting. I don't have the dates, but I believe that's over at the State Division of Elections office on Bogard Road.
All right, so
And I can
so
report
that
on
won't,
that at our next meeting.
that won't happen here is
No,
what I'm trying to, okay, great.
Nobody's reserved the space so far. So to my knowledge, no, just
Great.
city election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Attorney,
No comment, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, for those of us that live on Kinnick Goose Bay Road, I'm really happy to see that the state of Alaska is moving forward with the KGB expansion project. And as much as it's a pain to be behind big trucks and what have you, it's a project that's been a long time in coming. And anyway, I'm just really pleased to see that and look forward to seeing the final project completion so that way we can get the flow of traffic up and down Kinnick Goose Bay Road for folks to get to where they need to be. Anyway, it's just a great thing to finally see happen after 10, 15, 20, anyway, a long time. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could ask the Public Works Director to fill me in just a little bit on the questions that we had the other day.
Yes, through the mayor, Mr. Graham. Go on a little bit of the KGB. I've been attending weekly meetings with those folks, and our city utilities won't be on until about mid next summer, just FYI, before our utility supervisors have to help and do a lot of the utility tie-ins with water and sewer there. Yeah, they are starting pretty much from CLAP and working their way this direction with utility relocations. Is the big thing this fall, clearing and utility relocations. And then they're really gonna get started in about March with some fill, it sounds like, so FYI there. Some of our, I've been trying to jot things down here that I remember from our meeting that we do weekly. Some of our utilities, we had a project on the books for Mission Hills hydrants, which was a water, I wouldn't say quality, but more of cleanliness, or we have some dead ends throughout that system that produces brown water every once in a while that is still healthy to drink, but it gives the appearance that it's bad. So we were ordering parts and pieces for that, and we're still waiting. We ordered those back in May. It's just more of those parts and pieces with utilities that were lacking support from down south on a few parts and pieces. So that is still on the books, hopefully this fall in September, to get everything and install about 7 hydrants to help the water issues there from some of the residents. Our spruce 8-inch backup well, you remember working through the winter time last year trying to get that 8-inch online and connected. It was drilled. We had a lot of issues with that. We spent a lot more money. We had 2 different attempts to put that well casing in the ground with lots of large boulders, and it is still not connected to the system, but it is in the ground and just needs to have a pump and a connection to the well house and some utilities in the tech room all hooked up and checked. That's still going to be ongoing for this fall. Our sewer treatment plant, we are still going through the ADEC process of permitting that, of our pilot program, dumping into the wetlands in that area. And we still need another year of that pilot program to get rid of some of the ammonias that we're having some issues with in the wintertime months. So we're looking for some solutions with Stantec as our partner in engineering with that. We'll be continuing that program. So you'll probably see some legislation coming up soon from Stantec with some additional dollars to support that. Wells, we've been working on trying to get more wells online. Lakeside Terrace wells, it was an old well in the 80s that we took offline once we put onto the public water system, and that can produce about 250 gallons per minute for the system. and we're close with ADEC and getting that complete. Just a little bit more paperwork. If I had 2-3 more people, it would help out a lot. We have the old PD, or the new PD, the old Iditarod. There's 3 wells in there that we're going to be doing some pump tests on, trying to get one of those online as well into the system. And then you know about the Richmond and the Hurley that we just, the AMs that were done earlier. We hope to have Richmond up and running probably around July, August of next season. The generator is the big kicker right now. It is not scheduled until June of next season, even though we ordered it in June of this season. So a year out on some of these parts and pieces. We got some positive news from the state, from the feds on some water and sewer. We got about $5.7 million that might be coming our way here shortly. That will help in identifying a purchase of a sludge dredge and another digester that'll help us produce more volume through our system, and then also a covered drying area for the sludge. Airport, as you know, we were going forward with the master plan with the reimbursable monies from FAA. That you'll be seeing some legislation on soon, and some Apron E expansion design through HDL. We have a contract with them for another year on support for design for the airfield. MATCOM, we're still waiting on our generator. We are fingers crossed that the last switch, which is an external switchover switch, will be here the end of this week, and then they can start scheduling that outage at MATCOM for early September after the holiday, somewhere 5th, 6th, somewhere in that era. So we've been waiting for that well over a year now. I think I was asked about lights at MATCOM as well. That is being bid, and you'll be seeing that as an AM at the end of September coming around. So that means the contract would be in October, and we probably honestly wouldn't have lights on until November-ish, which is a little late, but going through the process. We also have some security stuff that we've been working on at Lucille Park, installing 2 new gates. That just went out for bidding, and also we'll be going forward with an AM at the end of September. Our little Nunley Park over here, our west parking lot, we had a ADEC grant that was all installed by a group of contractor that was directly under the ADEC grant, probably in June, that no one really knew about. I don't think I reported on. It's a little green infrastructure that is a little detention basin with a bunch of plants to clean up instead of going into our storm system that goes down into Lake Lucille. We added 4 pickleballs in the old ice rink there between Wonderland and the main north parking area. There's an unused space currently, and somebody had a great idea of, well, let's paint some lines and do some pickleball in there, reduce the tennis court. They were spending a lot of time on the tennis court. Tennis folks were having some conflicts, so we gave them 4 pickleball courts over there, and getting used quite a bit. So, our Wonderland fence, it was an old wood fence, was removed because of safety and some sight distance issues for patrol going by. We have some nice vinyl chain link black fence that was put up that is very appeasing to the eye, and you can see through it, and it widened out a little bit and gave some grassy areas on the inside, and put some more picnic tables up, and made that space really nice for parents to be able to be in there secure with their kids and enjoy being in there instead of standing and propping up against the fence all the time. I know that was always an issue for me with my toddlers. We also added an ADA access there as well, and some more toddler amenities. I think I was asked about the roofs in the restrooms on a lot of our parks. They had some of that greenhouse type material that was like a sunlight to also let light in because there was no electricity in there. We've been working on putting LED lights in, and then eventually we'll be securing those roofs solid and taking away those skylights, if you will, because most of them are all broken and leaking. The kids enjoy damaging those. So trying to improve that. As we're going through our paving project, we are getting some good gravel and excavation from some of the ditches and take it to our cemetery and have an area there we've been adding in, and hopefully to lift up a sloped area and add additional grave sites that not many people know about, kind of a shadow project as a result of our paving. And while I'm on paving, we have 4 roads prepped and ready, but the consistent downpour of rain has backed up the paving contractor, and we have our bases complete, our culverts in, and just waiting for D1 and asphalt with some hopefully better weather. I will be better prepared next time, and I did have a list that I prepared for the other director that had a bunch of maintenance and all the parks kind of improvements and CIPs that we were trying to accomplish back in May. And I don't think that ever got to you guys, so I will look at trying to put that in as an IM here next time, so you all can see the list and the public can see the list as well, and better work through it all. The only last thing is I've been working on public use firewood for the dead beetle kill. Mayor and I have been really talking that over, and hopefully by tomorrow I will have a decent template to then start issuing some public use in some of the areas where we've already cut the trees down and they're stacked in our parking lot areas for people to come and utilize for firewood this fall. Trying to make use of that beetle kill and those danger trees getting out of our park systems. So, Mr. Graham, does that answer your question?
That was great, thank you. We certainly made a lot of progress this summer on things. One of the things that now that school is back in session again, the council did appropriate some money in this budget for some speed mitigation devices near the schools, namely, the little radar signs that tell people how fast they're going. Can you speak to that at the next meeting when you're doing your research, how that's going on? Because I was over at Iditarod Elementary the other day, and in less than 10 minutes, I ran out of fingers of the number of people going through there at 40 miles an hour. So,
right, your reminder, the Iditarod, that's a borough and state project there. They do have the lights up there for
right.
on Wasilla Fishhook.
Right.
That was added a few more years back now, and that is the speed mitigation through that area.
Right, but we had specifically talked about the city chipping in to make some of that happen, whether we needed to fund the borough to do that work or we needed just to get their permission to do that work. And I know that was 2 directors ago, but anyway, if we could try and find out on that, I just hate to, I know it's right near the cemetery, but I hate to use one of those plots for a child or a family that gets hit by a speeding driver, so.
No, absolutely understand, and we have made some headway here on Nelson. We have put up some better pedestrian crossing with some of our little pedestrian, it's the state law to stop and yield. We've seen noticeably some slower traffic on Nelson now on that back stretch of Wonderland area. And Weber is now a 4-way stop, and that is a success. We have people in the condos calling me pretty much weekly, giving me thumbs up on that one. Over on Glenwood and Old Matt intersection, that was kind of a dangerous intersection when the condos went up there. The traffic changed, and we never changed our signs, and we just got that up to speed here last Wednesday. And that is the beginning of some better signage on Glenwood, because we've had a lot of speeding traffic through there as well, and continue to work on that.
Right, and I think that's a great initiative that we have going forward to try and, speed limits are there for a reason. and the reason is safety, and certainly safety is one of the things that we as a government need to have foremost in our mind when we're looking at infrastructure. One other, actually two other questions on that. There was some damage to the water tank up at Home Depot with the windstorm last winter. I'm assuming that was cosmetic damage, but since we're not going to be able to repair that this summer, it sounds like, are we going to be okay if we have another significant windstorm or a heavy snow and ice load for that water tower? I mean, that's a pretty important piece of infrastructure there, so.
Yeah, absolutely. The East Susitna Tower over there, the roof is off of that completely. We are working through FEMA process to get a new roof designed. HDL is working on a design. I should have that next week, I hope, to put out to the public for bid.
Okay, so we'll.
And also for the Spruce Water Tower as well.
Okay, great.
And Big Dipper has a PO to safely remove the insulation and the hanging metal currently to make that safe finally, and has all been approved through the FEMA process. So that'll be happening here soon.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that. And not just because that's the water that comes to my condo, but because that's a huge piece of infrastructure that we need to be very careful of. And the last thing was, there was some discussion a couple months ago about improving the parking that the farmers market uses over at Idita Park. Particularly during the farmers market or during the fireworks shows or other big events happening at Idita Park. That parking lot becomes kind of a bumper car area. Are there any plans in the work to try and expand that, or to try and better define that, or is that something you'd prefer to talk about next time?
No, I'm prepared for that. Yes, some of that area still needs to be paved in that west parking lot, and there is a southwest parking lot that is gravel that has been on our list for a few years, and slowly been trying to work through the process, and hopefully next season we will accomplish that.
And because the farmers market this year has been great. I think people are just glad to be out and not being under quarantine or restriction or anything like that. But I have heard way more than a number of just a few fender benders in that parking lot that were resolved without the help of the police, which is fine. But if there's a way that we could improve that and continue to make that a centerpiece, for us, that's great. And for my personal comments, the clerk did mention the MatCom booth at the fair. I've been by there. The youth court was there as well. It was very nice to talk to both MatCom and the youth court folks there, as well as you do have the ability to sign up for a Smart 911 while you're there. Smart 911, if you're not familiar with that, it's a system that you can sign up and you can put all kinds of information in there about yourself, your property, your family, so that if EMS does show up to your house, for instance, I have a lockbox on the outside of my house. If they get called to come in my house, they're going to break the door down. But since that lockbox is there and I've got Smart 911, they know what the lockbox number is. They can open it up and drag my dead body out without tearing the door down. So. But I encourage everybody to stop by there and sign up for the Smart 911 and talk to the folks that we've got at that booth, which is great. And as a reminder, of course, I mentioned that I spent some time out by Iditarod Elementary just kind of watching traffic. There's a lot of housing there, a lot of kids there, a lot of stuff going on. Please be careful. I saw people passing school buses that had their flashing lights on and their stop signs out. I saw people, easily in excess of 50 miles an hour in that school zone. So please remind your neighbors to be careful. Those of us that don't have kids in school don't think about it as much. But we all are all responsible for our children in our city, and we definitely want to make sure that they're safe. And I wanted to thank everybody that turned out to vote. It was from looking at things, it was a very confusing election. I thought it was pretty straightforward myself, but if you look at how few people are coming back as showing us that they ranked more than one person in the ranked voting election, we may have a lot more education that we need to do, and I certainly don't hope that any confusion or anything keeps people from voting in the future. A lot of stuff going on. Our own election here is not ranked choice, so that's going to be great to actually be able to vote for somebody and have it count. But thank you for voting. And if you know people that have questions about ranked choice voting, they can contact me if they want. They can contact the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. There's all sorts of resources out there. We'll make sure that they get the information that they need to be comfortable with that ranked choice. So thank you very much. And thank you, Bob, for your update.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No comment.
Councilmember Velock.
Thank you, Mayor. No comment.
Councilmember Johnson.
No comment, Madam Mayor.
And if you get a chance, please go by MatCom and WPD's booth and make sure you try those drunk goggles. It is an experience, to say the least.
Do you have to be drunk?
No.
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 That's the fun thing about him. Get drunk without having to drink.
Yeah.
Before we go to the sluice box.
Yeah. So, anyway, with that, there's no executive session scheduled, so we'll move directly to adjournment. With no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless objection is raised. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 6:41.